Chapter 71 Do One Vote. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fan Dishing shook his head and said helplessly, who made his cultivation unfathomable. Not long ago, he killed a virtual immortal from the Yuhua sect. You know, that person's Taoist name was Zhu Yang, and he was the master of the holy son of the Yuhua sect. My lord. Oh, pity him, he rushed all the way there, thinking he could kill Yi Junlin alone, but who would have thought that guy deliberately hid his cultivation, and Zhu Yang was killed in the end. Moreover, it is said that Yi Junlin was very protective of his shortcomings. After accepting the sword demon Li Wujia as his disciple, he forced the ancestor of the Shui family to personally kill the Shui family father and son. Do you think I cannot be afraid of such a ruthless person? Like him, I think it's normal for a moody lunatic to commit robbery on a whim. That this great elder from the Taoist sect was usually highly respected and had a very high status in the sect, but when he mentioned Yi Junlin's deeds, his words were filled with deep fear, and Miaoyi was so angry that her chest kept rising and falling, pacing back and forth in the room, gritting her teeth and saying, "Damn it, how can there be such a wicked person in the world?" Fan Dizheng looked at the angry woman in yellow and seemed to have thought of something. He said earnestly, "Miss, practice hard. With your talent, you will be able to break through the tribulation sooner or later, and even become an immortal. Don't forget, you are a star immortal. This kind of physique is not much worse than the sun immortal physique of the saint's son of the Yuhua sect." Hearing this, Miaoyi's eyes were full of determination. "Don't worry, Uncle Fan, I will work hard to practice. When I am strong enough, I will definitely eliminate demons and defend the Tao. Get rid of this scum with my own hands." Fan Dizheng smiled bitterly. Although the sect master's daughter was very motivated, her ideas were a little childish, she was too impulsive in her actions, and she was easily emotional. "Hey, there is no other way, just take your time. I hope you can make some progress during this trip to Yaowang Valley." On a mountaintop in the distance, several figures were sitting on the ground, dividing up the spoils. "Hey, Yi Junlin's name is really useful. These days, whenever we rob, we all succeed without exception." The dwarf-like short figure took off the curtain on the top of his head, revealing a sinister face. He smiled obscenely. "Damn, I scared the labor and management half to death just now, and almost exposed the secret." Fortunately, the Taoist sage, forced by Yi Junlin's reputation, still succumbed obediently. The man in the hat said excitedly, "That's your venerable man. A boss who is usually aloof and superior, but I didn't expect that he has to be respectful to me. This feeling is so good. TCH, why don't you take a pee and take a look at yourself? Are they being respectful to you? They are showing off to the sword demon Li Wujia. And who are you? You're just a minor character." The person who spoke was a man with a hot figure. The spicy woman in red rolled her beautiful eyes and scoffed. The man in the hat glared angrily. "Who are you talking about when you step on a horse? Aren't you also a bitch that is ridden by thousands of people? Have you forgotten how long you have been working in Fengchun Tower? Do you really think you are a red fairy? Bah! I'm going to tear your mouth apart." The woman in red stood up angrily, her chest trembling wildly. "Come on, let me chop you to death, you pheasant." The man in the hat said angrily, holding a long knife. "Quiet." At this moment, the white-haired old man shouted with a cold look in his eyes. His body exuded a powerful aura of divine transformation, which directly suppressed several people present. Compared with these parallel imports, there is no doubt about the strength of the white-haired old man. Moreover, he also formed the team by himself. The most important thing is that the white-haired old man has mastered the method of hiding his cultivation level. This allows him to give the target the illusion that his cultivation level is unfathomable every time he takes action. The white-haired old man sneered. You all think you have become more capable. You don't even know how much you weigh. Let me tell you, you are not irreplaceable. At worst, I will kill you too and find a suitable person to replace you. If you are sensible, please be smarter." For this audacious planner, the man in the hat and the others were all in awe and kept silent. the white-haired old man restrained his aura and raised the corners of his mouth. As the saying goes, the bold are starved to death, and the timid are starved to death. Cultivation not only relies on talent and hard work, but also requires the support of massive cultivation resources. As a casual cultivator, he has struggled all the way, but he is still stuck in the perfection of divine transformation for many years. If he wants to make a breakthrough, he must do something, and this time Yaowang Valley is a good opportunity. While Yaowang Valley is open, pretending to be Yi Junlin is the best time to cut leaks, because during this period, the flow of people coming and going is the largest, and it is also the time when the benefits are highest. You just need to sit back and enjoy it. Fortunately, Yi Junlin's fierce reputation and his complete team made the target audience simply give up resistance and obediently spend money to buy peace. Now that he has made a lot of money, the white-haired old man sighed inwardly. How brilliant his strategy is. As for doing this, it would have a negative impact on Yi Junlin's disciples, and the white-haired old man didn't feel the slightest bit guilty about this. After all, this kind of roadblocking and robbery is just a drop in the bucket compared to the killing of an army of millions of monks, right? After the last vote, everyone will disband. That the white-haired old man flashed his eyes and sneered, but before that, we have to play something bigger. Rumbling. Suddenly, the clouds on the horizon in the distance were rolling wildly, and a huge body tens of thousands of meters passed by, blowing up a mighty air current. That terrifying pressure can cause heart palpitations even from a distance. Then, what is that? The white-haired old man's scalp was numb, his whole body felt like falling into an ice cellar, and his eyes showed the ultimate shock. It's too scary. What kind of monster is that? The man in the hat swallowed his saliva and turned pale. Ah! The delicate body of the woman in red trembled, and she was so frightened that she almost lost control. When the huge figure disappeared, these people breathed a sigh of relief, their backs already wet with cold sweat. At the same time, there is a huge mana shield on Kunpeng. There are rockeries, flowing water, pavilions in it. The scenery is beautiful and spectacular, just like a holiday island. Yi Junlin sat on the Taisha chair, reached out and picked up the chess piece, looking thoughtful, and then placed it on the chessboard. Master, this is the whirlwind ice cream you wanted. It's chocolate-flavored. Bai Xiaoxi ran over excitedly with the freshly made finished product in her hand. Well, let it go. Okay. At this time, Hongye picked up the chess piece and put it down calmly. There was a faint arc at the corner of her mouth, feeling that she was sure of victory. For some reason, seeing his opponent being killed and retreating steadily, his desire to win and lose reached its peak at this moment. Yi Junlin did not respond, but picked up the war chess game. He crossed the boundary river as expected and the obstacles of multiple goals, and fell on the opponent's shogi. I'll eat you. You lose this game again. Hongye was stunned, clenched her fists tightly, and gritted her teeth. Master, war games cannot do this. I'm sorry, I'm a special forces soldier. Yi Junlin said seriously. Hongye. What a special force. Another new word you coined. Hongye was so angry that her heart was twitching. He shouldn't have such unrealistic expectations and actually imagined that he could defeat the opponent in an honest way. Even the rules of the game were changed at will by this guy, and his superb chess skills had no effect at all. Hey, Yi just wants to be defeated. Yi Junlin threw away the chess pieces, looked up to the sky and sighed. His tone was unmatched and lonely. The disdain in Hongye's eyes was even greater, and she secretly said in her heart, Bah! You stinky, shameless guy. Yi Junlin shrugged, picked up the finished ice cream made by Bai Xiaoxi, lowered his head and looked at it. His expression was like that of a subway grandpa in his previous life looking at his mobile phone. Hiss, this looks like a piece of shit. Still dark. My good disciple, you have worked hard, and I will give you this as a reward. Xiao Shi, make me a vanilla cup. As for the shape, just use a ball instead. Okay. Hong Chiba looked at this thing that looked like a reply, with an expression like constipation. This is for people to eat. Finally, Hongye suppressed her inner discomfort, took a mouthful with a spoon, and slowly put it into her mouth. in an instant, Hongqianye's eyes lit up and she wasn't so resistant anymore. It's ice cold and melts in your mouth. Is this ice cream? It's so delicious. Master, we have arrived in Wuzhou. It is said that Yaowang Valley will be opened in a few days. Li Wujie ran over excitedly, and then turned his eyes to Hongqianye who was eating black ice cream with a strange look on his face. Senior brother Hong looks like he's eating, at this time. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. What is Yaowang Valley? Ding, it has been detected that the host has entered Wuzhou, and the sign-in location is hereby refreshed. Please complete the sign-in at Yaowang Valley, and you will get great benefits. In my mind, the system's prompt sounded. Chapter 72 Longmen in. They are all masters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oh. Yi Junlin rubbed his chin. Since he's already here, he might as well go to Yaowang Valley. Anyway, there are benefits. Master, your vanilla ice cream. Bai Xiaoxi ran over with short legs. Yi Junlin took it, took a bite with a spoon, and praised with satisfaction. Well, you did a good job, there is progress. Hey. Bai Xiaoxi scratched his head, feeling very accomplished. By the way, Master has to give you a task. Yi Junlin took out a thick book with a pastry-making encyclopedia written on it. This is a bonus obtained by signing in every day, covering various pastry recipes. This book is definitely a trade secret, and it could create a pastry empire in the past life. Master hopes that you can learn more useful things, not only for me, but also for yourself. Yi Junlin said seriously. Bai Xiaoxi opened this thick book and was dazzled by the various illustrations of pastries inside. Her eyes were bright and her mouth was about to drool. When I think that it can also eat the food above, I feel so happy. Sure enough, Master is the best to shoo. Carry on. Okay. Bai Xiaoxi hugged the thick book and ran to the workbench with great enthusiasm, preparing for practical operations. Seeing this shameless behavior, Hong Chiba was stunned and felt that her knowledge was refreshed again. Obviously you want to eat it yourself, but you still have to make excuses. The most outrageous thing is that this stupid mouse actually believed it. Looking at the petite figure busy at the workbench, Hong Chiba felt a rare feeling of pity. A powerful man in the Mahayana realm not only possesses a special physique, but also has 100,000 subordinates who can fight. With such conditions, even if he is placed in the middle region, he can separate himself from one side, establish himself as the king, and start the road to hegemony. As a result, he willingly became a cook. He was obviously doing the job of serving people, but he still felt very happy and contented. Just when Hongqianye felt desolate about Bai Xiaoxi's fate, Yi Junlin, who was sitting opposite him, had already set up the chessboard at some point and said with a smile, "Good disciple, let's continue. If we lose again, there will be punishment." Looking at the smiling silver-haired young man, Hong Chiba clenched her fists in anger and wanted to hit him hard and beat him to pieces. "You bitch, if you want to torture me, just say so. Why do you need to play chess? What, you don't want to compete with me to learn chess skills?" Yi Junlin's smile gradually turned cold. "Master, you are joking." Hongqianye felt furious in her heart and said with a smile, "It is my disciple's honor to play chess with Master." There was no way, even if he was feeling aggrieved, he could only keep it in his heart. At this time, Hongqianye suddenly felt that compared to that silly mouse, it seemed that his situation was more pitiful. Li Wujie, who was practicing the Chaos Heavenly Sword Ju in the distance, glanced at the two figures playing chess who were getting along well under the willow tree, with a flash of envy in his eyes, and said with emotion, "Sure enough, the one that Master loves the most is Senior Brother Hong." Ah! Tianling City, since the nearby Medicine King Valley will be opened in a few days, a large number of monks from all over the world have gathered here. Whether it is an inn or a tavern, they are basically full. It is a common phenomenon to walk casually on the street and build a foundation with every 5 steps, and get a golden elixir with every 10 steps. Although there were occasional conflicts between monks during the period, they were quickly extinguished because there were too many big bosses hidden here, and they were afraid of accidentally bumping into someone and leaving their bodies lying on the street. Dragon Inn, the voices were full of people, and it was very lively. 4 hooded figures stood in front of the store looking at the plaque. "Master, this is the largest inn within 100 miles. Li Wujie said respectfully, "We can stay here for a few days and wait until the Medicine King Valley is officially opened before entering." The tall figure at the head had thick silver-white hair hidden inside. Under the brim of the hat, there was a handsome face with eyes as bright as stars. Yi Junlin nodded, "Okay, this is it. Although you can stay on Kunpeng, it gets a bit boring after a long time. If you stay in this inn, you can also appreciate the local customs and find out interesting things that happened recently. Guests, please come in." The waiter said, extending his hand. Yi Junlin and the others walked in. Because they wore hoods to hide their appearance, the guests didn't pay much attention. The reason for doing this is mainly because they are afraid of affecting the order around them. After all, in the whole cultivation world of the eastern region, Yi Junlin and the 4 of them are so recognizable that it is difficult not to attract attention when they are together. "Master, why do we have to be secretive?" Hongye, who was following behind, hesitated for a long time before mustering up the courage to speak. "In the view of the leader of the demon cult, their group has absolute strength, so why should they care about the eyes of the outside world? Anyone who dares to gossip will be killed directly. Hey, now that I'm so famous, I will definitely have a lot of fanatic fans. If my identity is exposed, they will all rush to get my autograph. This will make me very distressed." Yi Junlin sighed. Hongye seemed to be choked, and the muscles in the corners of her eyes were twitching. Along the way, he thought of countless reasons, but he never thought of this. Sure enough, I shouldn't try to figure out his intentions like a normal person. I was wrong. Big mistake. Hongye took a deep breath, her expression full of self-blame, and she was rebuilding her psychology. "Waiter, are there any recommended dishes here?" Yi Junlin chose a seat on the second floor and sat down, tapping his fingers lightly on the table and asked. The waiter ran over quickly and said with a bright smile, "Sir, you have asked the right person. I will recommend some of our signature dishes to you. I guarantee that the taste will be authentic." As he spoke, he opened the menu and introduced, "Look at this dish, it's called braised lion head. The lion head here is taken from a roaring lion in the nascent soul stage. Our cook chopped off its head. After being roasted repeatedly by goblin fire, the skin is crispy and refreshing, and the meat is tender and plump. There is also this sweet and sour carp dish. This carp is not an ordinary thing. It contains a trace of real dragon blood in its body. It tastes so delicious. It's very fragrant. And this stir-fried beef, the ingredients are taken from the azure beef that has been cultivated as a god. After eating it, you will be extremely powerful and have an enhanced effect on qi and blood." While the waiter introduced these signature dishes, he secretly observed Yi Junlin's expression, because the prices of these dishes are very expensive. Although there are more people these days, few monks staying in the hotel can afford to eat them. They were all persuaded to leave after seeing the prices marked on the menu, but this time, it seems a little different. At this time, Yi Junlin was not daunted by the sky-high price of the menu. He was someone who had seen big scenes. After all, at the state banquet prepared by Dezhou, every dish was priceless. Even the ordinary scrambled eggs with tomatoes were made from golden-winged dapeng eggs. As for the items introduced by the waiter, I can only say that they are a bit new, but not particularly exaggerated. What about this one? Shu Shu thinks this is delicious. At this time, Bai Xiaoxi pointed to a dish called snowflake jade pork on the menu and said curiously. The waiter smiled and said, "My guest, you are really discerning. The ingredients for this dish are taken from the polar ice rat. The polar ice rat comes from the cold extreme north and likes to live in the glacier. After our chef's professional after-processing, the meat will be very plump, and every cut of the meat will be as clear as snowflakes, hence the name. It is recommended to set up a stove here to cook the meat." Bai Xiaoxi. Bai Xiaoxi, who originally still had an appetite, was so frightened that she almost fell to the ground with a myocardial infarction after hearing this cruel description. "Sir, do you want this dish?" the waiter asked tentatively. "No more. No more Shu Shu." Bai Xiaoxi waved her hands repeatedly, her voice filled with tears. The waiter looked strange. Why did this little girl react so loudly? Wait, why do I seem to see a furry rat face? Chapter 73. The reputation has taken a turn for the worse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ahem, except for the snowflakes and jade meat, I want everything you said before, one by one. Junlin took out the storage ring and slapped it on the table with a generous slap. The waiter was startled. He was immersed in his spiritual consciousness. When he saw the mountains of high-grade spiritual crystals piled up in the space, he felt his mouth was dry and his heart was beating like a drum. Good guy, this is a rich man. Here, guest, please wait for a moment, and I will notify the chef to cook it for you. The waiter trembled with fright, and then quickly left the scene. Junlin shook his head. The amount of spiritual crystals he signed in and received during this period was enough for him to buy an ordinary dynasty, and what I spent just now was just a drizzle. Woohoo, rat is so cute, why do you want to eat rat? Bai Xiaoxi held her head in her hands, with tears in her eyes, feeling sad for what happened to her kind. Junlin touched its head and felt a little funny. Boom. At this moment, a vast and majestic aura spread and impacted the entire Longmen Inn. Fortunately, the Longmen Inn was very strong and was made of black iron, with only a slight vibration. What's going on? Junlin looked at the source. The aura of nascent soul. Which fellow Taoist has made a breakthrough? An old golden elixir monk said with envy. Whoa, a huge fiery red figure flew out from upstairs and landed on the table with a thud. Several guests sitting around were startled and said in shock, fuck. Suddenly, dense spiritual consciousness gathered. Only then did everyone see clearly that this was a lobster monster that had become a spirit. I saw that it was 3 meters tall, its shell was as red as flames, its pair of large pliers were extremely powerful, its 2 eyeballs were moving back and forth, and it was observing the surrounding environment with a look of panic in its eyes. What surprises many people is that this lobster monster is at the early stage of nascent soul. It turns out that it was the one that made the breakthrough just now. Just when the lobster monster, which had just broken through the nascent soul, was about to gather its momentum and escape from the Longmen Inn, a bright sword like a horse struck at it and slashed hard on it. Puff. The lobster monster screamed and fell limply on the table. His eyes were dim and his breath was gone. The owner of the knife light appeared. He was a middle-aged chef wearing a high hat, wearing an apron and carrying a kitchen knife with a cold light. He smiled apologetically and said, "Dear guests, I am really sorry. I was originally going to make spicy crayfish, but it turned out that this lobster monster saw its companions being killed one after another. When it was desperate, it actually broke through the shackles and broke through the yuanying. Then it struggled to escape from my knife. Fortunately, it was saved in time. If it causes any inconvenience to our guests, we will apologize here." Then, the middle-aged cook dragged the corpse of the lobster monster away, smiling apologetically all the way, and his attitude was very sincere. However, his face was too fierce, and the strength he just showed made many monks who had complained suddenly become angry. Swallowed back his dissatisfaction. Cruel, too cruel. Is the chef at this Longmen Inn so good? Since the store opened, no one dares to eat bawang meal, right? The monks at the table who were interrupted from eating looked at each other in shock as they looked at the rice bowls that had been kicked over by the lobster monster. The leader reacted, slammed the table, and yelled angrily, "It's his grandma's, give me a plate of stir-fried lobster for my brothers, used a big lobster just now, that the ingredients for nascent soul-level monsters must be very expensive, but these people can't stand it and they just want to vent their anger." Okay. The waiter was very happy. He put the towel on his shoulders and shouted excitedly, "Give these guests a plate of fried lobster." Seeing that the storm subsided, Longmen Inn returned to normal. Junlin looked back and said with a smile, "This kind of inn run by practitioners is quite interesting." Li Wujie crossed his arms and commented seasonedly, "Well, in my disciple's humble opinion, that cook's knife skills are very good. He can draw the knife quickly and accurately. He practices strong and domineering knife skills, as he just said. My breath is a little unstable, probably because I was in a hurry. He is a swordsman and a swordsman. Shoo, listen, someone seems to be talking about us. Hongye's eyes narrowed slightly. It's normal, I have a lot of fans. Junlin pretended to be calm, but actually raised his ears and listened carefully. There was a lot of discussion in the inn, and they were concentrating on one topic. What a crime. I met that damn bastard Junlin a while ago. All the spiritual crystals I have worked hard for most of my life were robbed by him. Damn, so am I. Not only the spiritual crystals, but also 6 7th grade treasures, 30 Xian level talismans, and 5 earth grade elixirs were all snatched away by him, a man who suffered 1,000 blows. Wow, it looks like everyone has been robbed. I thought I was the only one unlucky enough to be caught by that old dog. Hey, seeing all the fellow Taoists suffering from it, for some reason I suddenly feel more balanced. Fierce discussions filled the surrounding area. 80% of the victims in the entire Longmen Inn stood up and denounced Junlin as a shameless and despicable person. It was comparable to a large-scale venting of anger scene, and Junlin was yelling at Junlin. It can be said that the crowd was excited and filled with righteous indignation. It seems that the Junlin they talk about is a heinous thug who deserves to be punished by heaven and earth, crushed to pieces, sent to the 18th level of hell, and never reborn. Shichichi. Hongye lowered his head, his shoulders shaking, as if he was suppressing a smile. At this time, the leader of the demon sect was so happy that he heard the guests yelling and denounced Junlin crazily. He just felt that the retribution of heavenly law was unsatisfactory, and every pore in his body was stretching, and even the soul in his body was about to leave his body. Ah, you heroes, what a great scolding. I cursed out everything that was in my heart. Junlin, there were times when you were despised by thousands of people. See, this is what the people want. Hongye, who was also a victim, felt a sense of empathy from the bottom of her heart when she heard this group of people angrily scolding Junlin, pure reality substitute. So cool, so happy. Li Wujie's face was full of shock. He did not expect this situation at all. In his impression, his master does not seem like someone who would do such a thing. Immediately afterwards, Li Wujie's face was replaced by murderous intent. He firmly grasped the handle of the knife with his right hand and stood up to draw it out and start killing. Insult my master and die. At this time, a big hand pressed down on his shoulder, forcing Li Wujie back. Li Wujie's eyes flashed with astonishment. Master, master, you. Junlin shook his head. Don't be impulsive. Listen to what they say. It's obvious that someone is pretending to be me and cheating. That being scolded for no reason would make anyone else feel unhappy. It really fits that sentence. People sit at home, the pot comes from heaven. Junlin tried his best to calm down. His face looked a little ugly. From the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of the eldest disciple next to him who was lowering his head, and said meaningfully, Xiaohong, just laugh if you want to, don't hold your body back. Hearing this, Hong Chiba's back suddenly felt cold, and large beads of sweat overflowed from her forehead. Then, he quickly adjusted his state. When he raised his head again, his face was full of anger, and his eyes almost burst out with anger. He gritted his teeth angrily and said, Damn, these ants deserve to be damned. Master, as long as you give the order, disciple, I will take action immediately. No one will be left alive. Junlin, haha. Chapter 74 Hongye, Will I Eat Myself? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Junlin knew this man's sinister nature, and he couldn't tell how happy he was when he saw him being scolded, but he was so excited that he joined in because his true colors were revealed. And that sword demon Li Wujie. That bitch is really not a human being. Under the banner of his master Junlin, he pretends to be powerful in front of us and forces us to submit obediently. That's right. Seeing his arrogance at that time, the employer wanted to spit in his face. Then he pointed at his nose and cursed, Bah, who do you think you are? What about the banquet at the Shui family? Not beaten to death. Humph, in my opinion, he is just a mad dog raised by demon, specially released to bite people. Suddenly, there were victims surrounding him one after another, pointing their fingers at Li Wujie. Their words were filled with all kinds of cordial greetings, the kind that could turn out the family tree and scold him. At this time, Li Wujie, who was still angry at the criticism against his master, became even more angry after hearing these words. Why should labor and management be scolded for riding horses? I bet I have a fake one too. And hearing this, that person behaved well. Yi Junlin coughed a few times and said, Xiao Li, it's okay, I still have my teacher with you. Li Wujie's face turned the color of pig liver, and he held it in his mouth for a long time before he uttered a sentence, damn it, don't let me catch that guy, or I will have to chop him to death. Although he is known as the Sword Demon and has a notorious reputation in many Daozhou states, he did it openly and honestly. But now there are thieves who use his identity to cheat and steal ill-gotten gains. This shameless operation is still first-time meeting. Hong Chiba's back molars were almost broken, her brows were knitted into knots, and her fists in her sleeves were tightly clenched. No, it's really too funny. If this continues, I will have to hold back my internal injuries. From just now to now, Hong Qianye has always regarded them as people who eat melons. Whether it is Yi Junlin or Li Wujie who is scolded, there is not much difference in his heart, the only uncomfortable thing is that I can't laugh out loud. At this moment, a tall and strong man thought of something, waved his hand and said, let's not mention Li Wujie's mad dog, let's talk about Yi Junlin's great disciple. It is rumored that the Red Fairy has outstanding beauty and cool temperament, which makes countless men admire her. But when I saw her with my own eyes, I found that there was a big gap with the rumors. Although she was also very good-looking, for some reason, she was. The person smells very strong of prostitution, as if she was born in a brothel. Another man as short as Wu Daolong agreed. He rubbed his chin and said, what you said is true. Based on my many years of experience in the land of fireworks, the Red Fairy is at best above average. I really don't know why the outside world is exaggerating. It turns out that hearing is believing and seeing is believing. Fellow Taoist, your evaluation is very objective. When I saw the Red Fairy, I almost drooled. It was so magnificent. I really want to play with it. Another man said. He said with a lewd smile. Ha 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 ha. In an instant, everyone burst into laughter. The anger was suddenly diluted, and the atmosphere suddenly became lively. Many male monks did not say anything but made eye contact with each other, and they all knew it. Hong Chiba's expression was stiff, her inner smile disappeared, replaced by a surge of anger. You. He was so angry that his whole body was shaking, his teeth were clenching, and his eyes were almost cannibalistic. Listening to the various colored remarks outside, Li Wujie, who was sitting next to him, had a strange look on his face, and his eyes glanced at the chest of his senior brother, Yima Pingchuan, intentionally or unintentionally. This small move directly hit Hong Chiba's sensitive nerves, which made his anger level almost exceed the critical point. Junior brother Li, what are you looking at? Hong Qianye smiled, the smile was terrifying and chilling, swish. The hair on Li Wujie's body stood on end, and he felt as if he was being targeted by a great terror, as if there was an unrivaled demon in front of him. Hong, senior brother Hong, actually sand blew into my eyes. Don't get me wrong. Li Wujie quickly rubbed his eyes and pretended not to see anything. It was just poor acting and excuses that made Hong Qianye feel like his intelligence was being humiliated. Just as Hong Qianye continued to press, Yi Junlin pretended to cough a few times, and his tone was teasing, Xiao Hong, you have to be more generous. Besides, they are talking about the imposter, and he is also a fake. Female, are you a female? Why are you so anxious as a man? Hong Qianye seemed to have eaten a fly, her expression was extremely ugly, and the corners of her eyes were twitching wildly. Even though she had thousands of words to refute, she could not stand up to the ironclad fact. To be fair, it was the prostitute who was offended by these people's words, so what does it have to do with him as a man? 8 poles can't hit. Yi Junlin poked Hong Qianye with his elbow and smiled playfully, hey, have you completely accepted the title of Red Fairy? Otherwise, why would you have such a big reaction? Hongye's face froze, she shook her head quickly, and said decisively, I didn't. Really? Junlin asked again. I really didn't. Hongye was so anxious that she almost jumped up and tried to deny it. Ha, I believe you, master. Junlin waved his hand. Hongye was almost furious, but she could only endure it. The strange thing is that the monks present were talking about Junlin, Li Wujie, and Hongye, but the only one missing out was Bai Xiaoxi. It seems that in their eyes, Bai Xiaoxi is not worth mentioning at all, and is the existence with the weakest sense of existence. Guests, this is what you ordered. The waiter said with a flattering smile. Then, plates of special delicacies were served, with a hot aroma that made people salivate. Bai Xiaoxi had no appetite at first, but after seeing this, her nose moved and her eyes brightened. Wow, it smells so good. It picked up the chopsticks made of ivory and quickly took the food to its mouth. It was eating with joy and joy. Looking at this very nervous mouse, Junlin couldn't help but laugh. His inner depression was much reduced. He picked up his chopsticks and said, Eat. If you have anything to do, we'll talk about it later. Yes. The other two nodded. Fortunately, this denunciation did not last long, and the topic shifted to Medicine Qing Valley. Many monks who came here were full of longing, hoping to use this opportunity to achieve a counterattack. Some of them either want to obtain precious medicines to reach the realm and soar to the sky, or they are drug dealers who want to make a lot of money by reselling famous medicines. In short, the Yaowang Valley will definitely be a place where dragons and tigers fight. The other side, in the higher corridor, a graceful woman in yellow folded her arms and sneered, Uncle Fan, did you hear that? Everyone is scolding Junlin and the others. Let me tell you, this is what people want. Fan Dizheng sighed, Miss, they are just quick to talk, and a strong man of that level will not be swayed by the rumors from the outside world. Even if 1,000 people accuse him, so what? Uncle Fan, why do you always have to speak for that big bastard? And Miaoyi stomped her feet angrily and complained. Fan Dizheng smiled bitterly and said, Okay, I won't talk about the head office, right? You go to the room and see if there is anything missing. I will ask the store to buy it immediately. And Miaoyi snorted, turned around and walked into the exquisite side room. Hey, this kid. Fan Dizheng shook his head. Chapter 75 Killing in Dreams. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soon, the sumptuous meal was finished. Except for Bai Xiaoxi, who was very satisfied, the other three were all unhappy. Guys, please come this way. The waiter extended his hand enthusiastically and took them to their respective rooms, and Junlin and the others happened to pass by Fan Dizheng again. Okay. Fanda was looking at the hooded figures retreating in the distance, his heart skipping a beat inexplicably. Uncle Fan, what are you looking at? And Miaoyi walked out of the room with her little hands behind her back. I can feel that the strength of those people is unfathomable, especially the leader, which actually makes me feel powerless from the bottom of my heart. Fan Dizheng said solemnly with a solemn look on his face. How is this possible? And Miaoyi's beautiful eyes widened, her pretty face full of disbelief. You must know that the great elder of the Taoist sect in front of you has reached the Mahayana perfection, and he has mastered several ancient secret techniques of the sect, and his strength is terrifying. As a result, even such a being was afraid of those people just now, especially the leader, and felt ashamed. Let me ask, how powerful should that person be? Could it be a virtual immortal? An idea flashed through her mind, and Miaoyi swallowed her saliva, and then rejected this ridiculous idea. Please. That's the realm of transcending tribulation. Among any force in the eastern region, they are aloof. Even in Taoist sect, one of the top 10 immortal sects, there are only a handful of strong people in the tribulation realm, and they don't show their bodies easily. They are either practicing in seclusion or choosing to sleep, except for the white-haired old devil who took the lead in robbing their fleet before, and Miaoyi thought it would not be such a coincidence to meet another one. Uncle Fan, why do you need to boost other people's ambitions and destroy your own prestige? And Miaoyi said softly. Fan Dizheng smiled bitterly and said, Miss, we'd better be careful when we go out. After all, it's the time when the Medicine Qing Valley is about to open. I don't know how many powerful practitioners are pouring into this inn. Even if there are seniors who are stronger than me, it's normal. Oh. And Miaoyi could only nod, but she still felt that Uncle Fan was overly worried. Late at night, the bright full moon hangs high in the sky, emitting cold moonlight. Junlin stood with his hands behind his hands, looking at the beautiful scenery of the bamboo forest outside the window, his handsome face showing some emotion. It has been almost a year since I traveled to this world. Fortunately, thanks to Tongzi's attentive service, my life was pretty good. Ding, it has been detected that the host is very lonely. This system can provide free voice services. Would you like to enable the experience? At this moment, the sweet Lolita sound sounded in my mind. Yes, it was the system. Junlin was speechless. Tongzi, you are quite good at choosing the right time. Should I praise you? Or should I praise you very much? No. Junlin decisively refused. What kind of outrageous operation is it to have a voice chat with the system? If this spreads out, where will my Chinese traveler's face be? Ding, the host actually refused. This system is so sad. Hey, Junlin. Dong dong dong, a soft knock sounded on the door. Master, it's me, Shu Shu. A young and clear voice sounded. Come in. The door was pushed open. Bai Xiaoxi came over with the plate, picked up the cup and put it on the table. Master, this is your cappuccino. The design of this cup of coffee is a childlike smiling face, with steaming steam and rich aroma overflowing. Of course, the raw materials used are not the same as those in the previous life. If ordinary people drank it, their bodies would be unable to bear it and they might bleed to death. Junlin picked up the cup and took a sip. The fragrance filled his lips and teeth, which was the ultimate enjoyment for his taste buds. Well, it tastes good, but you can add less sugar next time. Junlin commented. Okay. Bai Xiaoxi nodded heavily, keeping it in mind. Go back and make yourself a drink as a reward. Thank you, master. Bai Xiaoxi felt that her labor had been rewarded, so she turned around and ran out happily. Hey, disciples are really lucky to have such a generous master like me. Junlin took another sip of coffee and said with emotion, at first, I thought about training this white-haired rat into a super fighter. After all, with the Daluo immortal body and the support of top-notch skills, he should be able to dominate the world. But now it seems that this path has been completely completed. It went astray and became an existence that can go up to the hall and go down to the kitchen. Even so, this white-haired rat enjoys it, immersed in the sense of accomplishment of making delicious food, and maintains a pure and innocent character. Anyway, if you want to fight and kill, just leave it to the other two apprentices. The other side, in a shadowed corner of the Longmen Inn, more than a dozen strange figures with snake heads and human bodies walked out. Their eyes were dark purple, their forked tongues hissed out of their mouths, and their aura was particularly evil. Everyone looked at the inn with their eyes filled with cruel and ferocious killing intent. Distinguished Lord Priest, are you sure you need to take action now? One of his subordinates asked respectfully. Yakiagu wears a silver crown and gorgeous robes that symbolize status. He holds a staff inlaid with emeralds, emitting a mysterious green light in the night. It hissed and stuck out its tongue, its eyes were cruel and ferocious, and its cold and gloomy voice sounded like it was coming from hell. In order to weaken the resistance of the human race, tonight's massacre plan will start from this inn. All for the holy war of the underworld. The men behind him said solemnly, yes, this group of creatures came from the evil snake clan among the hundreds of tribes in the abyss. This time, they were led by the senior priests of the tribe and specially sneaked into Tianling City to carry out an assassination mission. They understood that because Yaowang Valley was about to open, this city would be filled with monks from all over the eastern region, including many powerful human beings with advanced cultivation. In this case, they might as well take advantage of this moment to clear out some of the backbone for the Mingyuan army's counterattack. Lay a solid foundation in the eastern region. Of course, the reason why they dare to do this is naturally based on something. But now, Longmen Inn is being targeted by Yelagu and the others because it has the largest number of guests. Act immediately and start setting up the dream formation. Yelagu said coldly, the fantasy formation is an extremely ancient formation. The outside world has almost lost records of it, but it is still well preserved in the evil snake clan. This formation can make people sleep silently and enter a dreamland composed of desires, until the spirit is wiped out and reduced to an empty shell of a walking corpse. There must be no interruptions during this period, otherwise there is a risk of failure. Swish, swish, a dozen evil snake creatures set off separately, occupying various positions in the Longmen Inn. They cut their palms with knives, purple blood flowed out, and then they drew lines on the ground. The ancient and obscure lines gradually took shape, exuding an extremely weird aura, and the whole body shone with a strange purple glow. Invisibly, a mysterious and strange force enveloped the Longmen Inn silently. More than a dozen creatures of the evil snake clan were maintaining the formation, not daring to show any signs of fatigue. They were concentrating on it, fearing that anything might go wrong, because once there is a mistake, it will cause loopholes, causing individual sleeping monks to wake up and disrupt the entire plan. The mana in Yelagu's body surged and boiled, crazily pouring into the staff in his hand, and the emerald emitted a breathtaking brilliance. Yelagu believed that with his cultivation in the Mahayana realm and the other dozen or so backbone members of the clan in the fusion realm, if he used the dream formation with all his strength, it would be enough to destroy all living beings below the tribulation realm. Many monks staying in the hotel began to fall asleep unknowingly. Some were lying on the table with saliva drooling from the corners of their mouths. Some remained in a meditating posture, but their spirits had fallen into sleep. At this time, they were all having sweet dreams, realizing their long-awaited wishes in their dreams. On the broken battlefield, the monks from all over the Kunlun realm were desperate. They watched the alien army bloodbath in all directions. The scene was extremely miserable, like the end of the world. Heaven is going to destroy me, Kunlun. A white-haired old man shouted sadly. The alien army was raging like locusts, massacring cities and annihilating tribes wherever it went, leaving mountains of corpses and seas of blood everywhere. At this moment, a shocking sword light came like a divine punishment, and struck the alien army with a devastating impact. Countless aliens screamed miserably, and their souls were extinguished. Which strong man took action? The alien general showed fear on his face. It's me. A loud and majestic voice echoed in the sky. Above the sky, stood a stalwart figure with wavy hair. When his eyes opened and closed, a cold light shot out from the sky. He was holding a 40-meter-long sword in an extremely domineering posture. It's him. It's him. The sword god Li Wujie. Countless men and women cried with joy as the savior of the Kunlun world appeared. The god of swords. You are the god of swords. Known as the strongest swordsman in the Kunlun world, #1 in the art of swordsmanship throughout the ages. The foreign general looked horrified, almost shouting out of fear. Humph! Li Wujie's eyes were like lightning, and his tone was unquestionable. Anyone who offends our Kunlun will be punished. After saying that, he swung the 40-meter-long sword and slashed it hard. The entire world was cut off, the universe and the stars were dim, and even the avenues were obliterated. All. The group of alien creatures wailed, and were annihilated by this earth-shattering sword light, turning into nothingness. Sword god Li Wujie. You are our great hero. Boiling cheers rang out from everywhere in the Kunlun world. Everyone knelt down to worship and shed tears of gratitude. Kunlun realm, I will protect it. Li Wujie looked serious, raised the 40-meter-long sword high, and made the strongest voice in the world. In another illusion, on the high throne, a slender figure sat on it. Wherever those leering eyes reached, all the powerful men in the world surrendered and knelt down obediently like slaves, not daring to say a word. Hongye raised her chin slightly, and an evil smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Now that all his former enemies have been killed, no one in this world can be his opponent. I hereby declare that the era of the rule of the fire worship demon cult has arrived. That the cold voice echoed throughout the Kunlun world, as if the gods were transmitting messages, lasting for a long time. The leader's power is boundless. Hundreds of millions of believers shouted with fanaticism, their voices shaking the heavens and the earth. Ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Hongye sat on the supreme throne, raised her head and let out a loud laugh of satisfied ambition. Chapter 76 Snake Dance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This is a world full of childish dreams. What flows down the mountain stream is not water, but sweet and delicious cream. Each blooming flower represents candy of various flavors. The soil is made of chocolate, and the inside of the rock is actually cake. Roasted chickens are flying, cooked cows are running, and even birds and animals are ready-made foods. As long as you wave your hand, they can come over for you to enjoy. There are many colorful elves holding hands and laughing happily. There is no fighting, no intrigues, no bloodshed and disputes. There is an atmosphere of peace and tranquility everywhere. Bai Xiaoxi enjoyed the delicious food happily, wandering among the mountains, rivers and fields, changing the food whenever she got tired of it, and she could find new and novel food every time. Whoa! Bai Xiaoxi rose from the ground and landed on the soft clouds. The clouds were made of marshmallows, and it was soft and comfortable to lie on them. It's so nice here. Bai Xiaoxi smiled sweetly, and fell asleep in a dream after eating and drinking. There was a lot of snoring throughout the inn, and everyone was immersed in their own dreams. However, there is only one exception. At this time, Junlin looked at the bright moon outside the window and felt a little depressed when he thought of himself taking the blame for no reason. I thought that with his good looks and strength, he had already gained a great reputation and would have a huge number of fans in Wuzhou. Unexpectedly, Quan Tama is a negative fan. All of this is caused by traitors, using his name to deceive and smear his perfect image of being wise, powerful, tall, invincible and righteous. Junlin sighed, hey, the world is really declining, and people's hearts are not the same as before. Ding, it is detected that the host has not signed in for 2 months. Have you completed the sign-in? The system beep sounds. Sign. Junlin said, ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining 1 million top-quality spiritual crystals. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining 5 top-level pyroblast talismans. Ding, congratulations to the host for getting 10 bags of top-quality pet animal feed. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining the number 1 flute in the world, the flute of eternal life. All rewards obtained by signing in have been automatically stored in the system space. Junlin raised his eyebrows. Eternal life flute. Tongzi, what's the grade of this thing? Ding, there are no levels. The power of the flute depends entirely on the host's flute-playing skills and one's own cultivation level. The system replied thoughtfully. Junlin suddenly remembered that his flute-playing skills seemed to be at the top level. Feeling the long night and thinking of the turmoil he encountered today, Junlin had no reason to want to play a song to relieve his inner depression. Swish, the light flashed in the hand, and a cyan flute appeared. There was a green light flowing throughout the body, exuding a mysterious and ancient aura. This is the Chongqing flute. Junlin held the flute in both hands, put it to his mouth and started playing. In an instant, the sound of the flute is clear and melodious, echoing with an ethereal meaning. Junlin didn't use his cultivation, he just played the flute purely by feeling. Even so, he released circles of mysterious ripples, forming some kind of resonance with the world. Whooshing, there is no wind in the room. Junlin's long silver-white hair is fluttering, his eyes are bright and blazing, and his whole body has an ethereal temperament, like a banished immortal above the 9 heavens playing the flute. What sound? The expressions of more than a dozen evil snake clan creatures changed, fearing that someone would interrupt their formation. The strange thing is that they did not receive any harm, as if it was just a simple melody, which was particularly sweet and sweet. Such beautiful music, it reminds me of my life in the tribe when I was a child. One of the tribesmen looked intoxicated, hissing out his tongue, and couldn't help twisting his body, dancing gracefully to the rhythm. Tulu, what are you doing? Yelagu noticed something was wrong and yelled sternly. As a result, the tribesman ignored it and danced gracefully to the sound of the flute. Perhaps he had the characteristics of a snake and his body was extremely flexible. This is not over yet. One after another, the creatures of the evil snake tribe gave up maintaining the dream formation and immersed themselves in their own world. They danced obsessively, either twisting their waists or shaking their buttocks. The scene was very eye-catching. You guys. Yelagu was shocked, his eyes widened. He had never seen such a bizarre sight in his life. Soon, Yelaga realized that everything was caused by this beautiful flute sound. The sound of the flute can stimulate the characteristics of the snake, causing its people to dance to the sound of the flute. Who is taking action? Get out of here, this priest. Yelaga's face was fierce, and his sharp fangs flashed with cold light. Suddenly, its eyes gradually lost focus, and it closed its hands to make a flower and held it above its head, imagining that it was a sunflower, its body swaying in the wind, and a bewildered smile on its lips. As they all danced, the dream formation also stopped operating. Inside the dragon inn, Fan Dizheng woke up with a start and suddenly felt scared. I just fell into a trap. Fan Dizheng knew very well that a practitioner of his level would not fall into a dream for no reason. There must be someone behind the scenes. Not good. Just as Fanda was thinking of something, he disappeared and broke into the side room on the other side. In front of him, Miaoyi was sitting cross-legged and meditating. Her face was quiet and peaceful, her eyes were closed, and she showed no sign of waking up. There was still a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. Obviously, this is a sweet dream. Miss, wake up quickly. Fan Dizheng made a secret with one hand and shot out a stream of light that fell into the eyebrows of the woman in yellow, and Miaoyi's delicate body trembled, her long eyelashes trembled, and her beautiful eyes opened with a look of confusion. Uncle Fan, why are you? We have fallen into a trap. Fan Dizheng said solemnly. Cheated? And Miaoyi wrinkled her nose, as if thinking of something, and said with palpitations, no wonder I feel like I don't want to wake up, and the deeper I get into it, the more exhausted I become. If I guessed correctly, the enemy has set up a dream formation. This is one of the ancient and evil formations in rumors. It can make people fall into a deep sleep without anyone noticing, until they wake up quietly in their sleep. Die. Fan Dizheng said with a gloomy expression, even a strong person like him, who is a perfect Mahayana, is trapped in it and unable to extricate himself. If it really drags on, his life will really be decided here. There were no traces of a fight, he just died silently. Thinking of this, Fan Dizheng felt a chill down his back and secretly felt lucky. And Miaoyi couldn't believe it. They are so vicious. What is their purpose for doing this? Is it to kill people and steal wealth? Miss, don't run around. I'll go outside to check on the situation. Fan Dizheng said in a deep voice. Whoosh. The figure disappeared in an instant. They were above the inn. Fan Dizheng's pupils shrank. Abyssal creatures. At the same time, Yelaga and the others were no longer dancing, because the sound of the flute was suddenly interrupted, allowing them to regain consciousness, and their expressions were all surprised and uncertain. Master Priest, we. Some tribesmen's scalp was numb, and they were very worried about the strange phenomenon just now. Can this plan continue? Yelaga's eyes were full of murderous intent, and he said in a cold voice, although I was interrupted just now, most human monks will choose to continue sleeping because of the beauty of their dreams. As long as they are repaired in time, they still have a chance. Stop! An angry shout sounded. Chapter 77. Is this a new type of provocation? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fan Dizheng flashed over, his eyes were like lightning, and he said angrily, the evil beast in the abyss actually dares to take action against us humans. Yelaga's eyes showed fear, and he said coldly, so what? Our Mingyuan army is bound to sweep across the eastern region. Isn't it too much to kill you monks in advance? You are so brave. This is the territory of my human race. Fan Dizheng waved his hand, and held the 3-foot green sword in his hand. The sword shined like stars, exuding a sacred aura. Human Mahayana monks, don't think that this priest is afraid of you. That even though he was 2 small steps behind, Yelaga was still confident and confident. Humph, who do you think I am? It turns out to be a monster from the abyss. Not far away, Li Wujia's eyes were as sharp as an eagle, and he appeared menacingly with a long knife. Immediately afterwards, there was a cold voice filled with murderous intent. How dare you, dirty and lowly creatures like you, assassinate me. Swish. Hong Qinya appeared in a flash with her hands behind her back. I saw this demon sect leader, with a flawless and beautiful face, full of strong murderous intent, and phoenix eyes burning with golden divine flames, as if he wanted to burn all things, and his aura was unmatched. 2 more Mahayana monks are here. At this moment, cold sweat broke out on Yelagu's and the others' foreheads. 2 fellow Taoists. Fan Dizheng's eyelids twitched. Whether it was the middle-aged man holding a knife or the woman in red, he felt completely oppressed. Most importantly, what's going on with this inexplicable feeling of familiarity? Fan Dizheng felt that these 2 people seemed to have met somewhere before. Hong Qianye and Li Wujie apparently took advantage of the pause in the formation to realize that they had fallen into a trap, and then reluctantly left the dreamland. After regaining consciousness, they felt very annoyed. On the one hand, they hated the other party for using such methods, and on the other hand, they felt like their dream had been shattered and they had returned to the cruel reality. So, let's just put the blame on Yelagu and the others. Master Priest. The subordinates were frightened and trembling. After all, the opponent had 3 Mahayana masters. Yelagu was panicked at first, but then regained his composure and said in a deep voice, "Pour all your strength into me, quick." Yes, the men immediately followed suit, and surging power poured into Yelagu. Boom, Yelagu's eyes were about to burst, and strong evil energy was released from his whole body. He held the staff in both hands and raised it above his head. The emerald on the top of the staff was vibrating violently, and then it clicked and was covered with turtle marks. A huge green light group was released, shrouded in Yelagu and the others. Yelagu's heart felt like it was bleeding, because he knew that his most valued weapon was useless, but fortunately, it was worth it to get the chance to escape. No, they are trying to escape. Fan Dizheng's expression changed, and he swung his sword to stab them with all his strength. Don't even think about it. Hong Qianye and Li Wujie were about to intercept. It's useless. This staff of mine was a sacred object given to me by the clan leader back then. Even if it were to cross the tribulation realm, it would be difficult to keep me. Let alone you. Yelagu said proudly. The green light group was blazing and bright, and was about to disappear into the void without a trace. In the nick of time, the sound of the flute came again, but this time it was rhythmic and contained some irresistible Taoist meaning. Okay, Hong Qianye and the others stopped unconsciously, with expressions of surprise on their faces. No. Yelagu realized something, and his proud smile disappeared and turned into grief and anger. The sound of this flute makes me feel like dancing. Li Wujie touched his nose, feeling ready to move. Hong Qianye frowned, instinctively thinking that it was that guy who did it. Then he looked forward. He seemed to have seen something shocking, and the corners of his eyes were twitching. Here, what are you doing? At this time, the dim green light group was annihilated, revealing a dozen enchanting figures. These creatures with snake heads and human bodies were either shaking their butts or twisting their waists, and their forked tongues were hissing in their mouths, as if they were immersed in a carnival party, and Yelagu was even more outrageous. It was seen that it was holding a staff and sticking it straight on the ground, and then it danced boldly and fierily, sometimes spinning around, sometimes making difficult movements, as if it was not holding a staff, but a steel pipe. Fuck. Are you provoking us? Li Wujie showed a disgusted expression, and the knife in his hand tightened. Red Chiba's scalp was numb and goosebumps appeared all over his body. Seeing the dance of more than a dozen snakes, he felt that he needed to rinse his eyes with water quickly. It's because of the sound of the flute. Fan Dizheng was stunned at first, but then he realized what was happening and his heart was shocked. The rhythm of this flute sound is brisk, which seems to resonate with the avenue, and also contains the meaning of returning to nature. Listening to it, one can't help but fall deeply into it. The most frightening thing is that there is no cultivation blessing, just using musical notes to communicate with all things in the dark. Let me ask, what level of skill has the person who can do this reached? I am afraid that he has become the only one in the world and is regarded as the leader of the musicians in the eastern region. Fan Dizheng knew that without this senior, the monks at Longmen Inn would be in danger. Sure enough, this inn is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Fan Dizheng said with emotion. Inside the room, Miaoi's beautiful eyes lit up. She listened attentively, and said in surprise, "Who is playing the flute?" That the sound of the flute is ups and downs, very brisk. The more Miaoi listened, the happier she became. She felt that someone who could play such a tune must be a very interesting person. And outside, Yelaga's dance continues, spicy, too spicy. Seeing Hongye and the others, their hearts were beating fast. Bullshit. I can't bear it anymore. I'm going to chop them to death now. Li Wujie collapsed and rushed forward with the knife. You disgusting bastards, you will all die for me. Hongye felt disgusted and fiercely struck out with her palms. Poor Yelaga was first hacked to death with random knives, and then beaten into ashes with a palm. The rest of his subordinates also followed in his footsteps. Fan Dizhen was stunned. Is it so fierce? He hasn't done it yet. The other side, Yi Junlin was playing the flute. The reason why he stopped midway just now was because he wanted to change to a new style and also try to change his mood. I feel that the effect is good. Playing the flute can cultivate your mood and make you happy physically and mentally. As for the turmoil happening outside, Yi Junlin naturally knew about it, but he was too lazy to care about it. He had 2 apprentices to deal with it anyway. After a while, after Yi Junlin finished playing the flute, he seemed to feel something. He stepped over and opened the door. In front of him stood a slim, fair and lustrous, pretty and charming woman in yellow clothes. Originally, Miaoyi was still immersed in the sound of the flute. When she saw the door suddenly opened, she was so frightened that she took a few steps back. Her hands were nervously intertwined. Her watery eyes were as clear as a spring, reflecting the silver-haired woman in front of her. A handsome young man with long white hair hanging down around his waist, that ethereal aura is like an immortal descending from the top of the clouds, and Miaoyi's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. She didn't expect that this musician was actually a celestial being. She was originally eloquent and sharp-tongued. When she saw Yi Junlin, a faint blush appeared on her face and he hesitated. Senior, I'm sorry to bother you. I actually wanted to. Yi Junlin's eyes lit up, and he immediately pulled her in and slammed the door. The two looked at each other. Yi Junlin urged excitedly, hurry up, give me your pussy. Ah. And Miaoyi suspected that her ears had heard wrongly, and her mind went blank for a moment. Chapter 78. Come on, I believe you can do it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Quick, give it to me. Yi Junlin looked anxious and stretched out his hand as if to ask for something, and Miaoyi's pretty face turned red and her head felt dizzy. As the daughter of the leader of the Taoist sect, she has seen too many young talents use various tricks and methods to please herself, just to win her favor. But this is the first time Miaoyi has seen a boy like tonight who goes straight to the point without beating around the bush. Although she was attracted by Yi Junlin's flute sound and was a little moved by his handsome image, Miaoyi felt that it was too much for Meng Lang to make such a request as soon as they met. It's quite a favorable impression. As her thoughts turned, Miaoyi pushed the silver-haired young man in front of her away, shook her head and said, Master, please be respectful, I am not that kind of casual woman. That this time it was Yi Junlin's turn to be confused. What do you mean? I just want a pen. Do you have to be so serious? Girl, are you sure you don't want my autograph? Yi Junlin asked tentatively, and Miaoyi was stunned, her brain spinning rapidly, and then she realized that she had thought wrongly. Instantly, her face became even redder, like a big red apple, but soon, Miaoyi adjusted her state in time and asked with a puzzled face, why do I want your autograph? Are you famous in the eastern region? That Yi Junlin was choked. He was afraid that this girl didn't know him. The flute you play is very nice. You are obviously a musician and must be very famous in your local area. However, I have never seen you before. I was just attracted by your flute sound, so I dared to come and visit. And Miaoyi explained. Yi Junlin was a little embarrassed, so that's it, I was the one who was abrupt. However, we are destined to meet each other. I am Miaoyi, a local from Guangzhou. May I ask your surname? Miaoyi said politely and generously. Hello, Miss An, my name is Yi Fan. Yi Junlin paused for a moment and said, I'm from Guangzhou. Yi Junlin had a hunch that this time the Yaowang Valley gathered heroes from all over the world, and the group of imposters would definitely take this opportunity to do something big again, so he thought it would be better to conceal his true identity first to avoid unnecessary complications and prevent the news from being leaked in advance. Are you from Guangzhou? And Miaoyi opened her beautiful eyes and lightly covered her delicate lips. Yeah, what's wrong? Mr. Yi, actually I had a very bad impression of Huangzhou before. The elders said that it was a backward and barren land. It was the most insignificant daozhou in the eastern region. It would be difficult to even produce a god. And Miao follow the truth, Yi Junlin was not angry and nodded, indeed. In the past, in Huangzhou, Yuanying could walk sideways, let alone the transformed spirit. But now, the appearance of Xiantian's sect has refreshed my understanding of Huangzhou. I suddenly discovered that this is a seriously underestimated place. And Miaoyi said, Yi Junlin smiled and said, so, your impression of Huangzhou has improved now? No, it's worse. What? Yi Junlin was stunned, and Miaoyi put her hands on her hips and said angrily, Yi Junlin, the master of Xiantian sect's Piamiao Peak, relies on his advanced cultivation to do all kinds of evil. During this period, he also brought his disciples to Wuzhou to loot various monks. Uncle Fan and I have both become victims. A great virtual immortal who has gone through the tribulation period can actually do such a despicable thing. It is really a shame to the cultivation world of the eastern region. Cough cough. Yi Junlin coughed a few times and said solemnly, Missen, I think there must be some misunderstanding. In the eyes of us Huangzhou people, Yi Junlin is a unique and perfect man in the world. Not only is he powerful and well-behaved, but he also has a face that is so impeccably handsome that it explodes in all directions. Even I, a man, almost fell in love with him when I saw him. You said, how could such an excellent man do something that tarnishes his reputation? It's not like that, Hurt, and Miaoyi looked strange and stared straight at the silver-haired young man in front of her. If she hadn't seen Yi Junlin with her own eyes, she would have been deceived before. She must believe that he is powerful, but Miaoyi scorns it because of his good character and handsome appearance. Mr. Yi, there is no one else here. You can tell me the truth without worrying about the content of your words being leaked and causing the white-haired old devil to take revenge. And Miaoyi said with a sincere tone, her beautiful eyes twinkling. Yi Junlin's mouth twitched, Missen, you have a very rich imagination. Hey, judging from Mr. Ye's performance, it is enough to prove how heinous the white-haired old devil is. He uses cruel methods to oppress the people of Huangzhou and forces you to open your eyes and tell lies. In fact, your fear of the white-haired old devil is it has penetrated deep into the bone marrow, and life must be very hard on weekdays, right? Don't be afraid, justice will eventually defeat evil. I will work hard to become stronger, and then I will take the life of the old white-haired devil and save the suffering people of Huangzhou. Miaoyi waved her fists, looking filled with indignation, Yi Junlin said. He could finally see that this woman was full of hatred for Yi Junlin, but full of sympathy for him. And Miaoyi frowned, Mr. Yi, what's your expression? Am I right? Exactly. Yi Junlin gave a thumbs up, come on, I'm very optimistic about you. Defeat Yi Junlin and save Huangzhou. I will. And Miaoyi nodded heavily, not hearing anything wrong with this sentence. Yi Junlin, huh? By the way, Mr. Yi, you have to be careful, this inn has been attacked. Before Miaoyi could finish her words, she sensed something and decisively opened the door and walked out. Uncle Fan, I'm here. Swish, Fan Dijing flashed over and said seriously, Miss, why did you come here? Didn't I ask you to stay in your room? Miaoyi scratched her cheek with her fingers, a little embarrassed. I just heard someone playing the flute and thought the tune was very nice, so I followed the source to find it here. Wait, you mean, you found the owner of the flute? Fan Dijing's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, this is the real boss who resolved the crisis in the entire inn. Chapter 79, Medicine King Valley opens. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yes, he's here. And Miaoyi pulled Yi Junlin out with one hand and introduced, his name is Yi Fan. Master Yi, I admire your skills. Fan Dijing's face changed slightly and he cupped his hands. Somehow, seeing Yi Junlin's personal image, his heart skipped a beat. Yi Junlin smiled and said, it's easy to talk, it's just a special skill that I'm good at. Seeing Uncle Fan's complimentary behavior, and Miaoyi felt a little strange, swish, brush. At this time, Hongye and Li Wujie fell next to Yi Junlin respectively. I have met two fellow Taoists. Fan Dezheng did not dare to neglect. After all, he had seen how powerful these two people were. Hongye opened his mouth and was about to say the word master when he suddenly heard a secret voice transmission, causing him to hold it back, and said with a strange look on his face, "Brother Yi, the problems outside have been solved." "That's good." Yi Junlin smiled and nodded. "These two are." And Miami's eyes widened, her eyes almost focused on Hongye, marveling at this person's appearance and temperament, so beautiful, like a fairy. Yi Junlin said seriously, "The one in red is named Wang Cuehua, and the one with the knife is named Li Tai Dan." Hongye cast an incredulous look. "What are you doing?" "Oh my God, Wang Cuehua. This is not my name." As a result, when he came into contact with Yi Junlin's meaningful eyes, the all-powerful leader of the demon cult was defeated like a frost. He lowered his head and said with difficulty, "Yes, my name is Wang Cuehua." When she said this name, Hongye suddenly felt a little ashamed, and her dissatisfaction with Yi Junlin rose to a new level. Li Wujie scratched his head. "Yes, my name is Li Tai Dan." Li Wujie didn't care. As long as it was the master's order, he would, listen to it without any complaints. "I've met two fellow Taoists." And Miaoyi nodded, especially surprised by Hongye's name, which was seriously inconsistent with his image. "She is so good-looking, but she turns out to be called Wang Cuehua, which is a pity." Then, the few of them were polite to each other for a while, and then Miaoyi was pulled back by Fan Dezheng. "Master, you were." Li Wujie said tentatively. Yi Junlin put one hand behind his back and held the flute in front of his abdomen. He pretended to cough a few times and said solemnly, "This is what I think. That group of counterfeiters will probably take action again. It's best these days. Don't leak any information to avoid alerting others." "Master is wise." Li Wujie complimented. Hongye cursed in her heart, saying so, but why should he be called Wang Cuehua? "Are you a genius at naming?" The other side, Fan Dezheng said with emotion, "That Mr. Yi is very extraordinary. He didn't show up tonight, but he was able to control the enemy with the sound of the flute, resolve this crisis, and play with those abyssal creatures in the palm of his hand. I admire him, I admire him." "Uncle Fan, is it such an exaggeration?" And Miaoyi said in surprise. "Furthermore, I could see that the other two people were vaguely respecting him during the whole process, which further convinced me that Mr. Yi was very powerful." Fan Dezheng was thinking deeply, and for some reason, when those people get together, they give me an inexplicable feeling of familiarity. "Uncle Fan, don't think too much. Mr. Yi and the others are all good people. When the Medicine King Valley opens, you can consider traveling with them." And Miaoyi said. Fan Dezheng said solemnly, "Miss, you know people but don't know their hearts. You have stayed in the Taoist sect for too long since you were a child, and you don't know the dangers of the outside world. If you ask me, these people reveal something weird. We still have to be cautious. After all." "Oh, Uncle Fan, why are you becoming more and more preachy like my dad?" "I just couldn't stand my dad's nagging, so I thought of running out. I'm sleepy now. I want to go to bed. See you in the morning." And Miaoyi quickly slipped into the room and slammed the door. Fan Dezheng was stunned, then shook his head and sighed. "Sect Master, your precious daughter is really difficult to take care of." Early morning hours, the guests in the inn were waking up one after another. They had no idea what happened last night, and they were even satisfied with the dreams they had last night. "Master, this is your tiramisu." Bai Xiaoxi held the plate and gently placed the newly prepared dessert on the table. Yi Junlin picked up the spoon, took a sip, and with a satisfied smile on his face, he praised, "Xiaoxi, you are really a genius in cooking delicious food." "Hee, actually it doesn't happen either." Bai Xiaoxi scratched his head, and when he heard the master's praise, his body squirmed and he felt very happy. "By the way, did you sleep well last night?" Yi Junlin asked deliberately. Hearing this, Bai Xiaoxi's eyes brightened and she said excitedly, "Master, Shu Shu had a sweet dream last night." There were many, many delicious things in the dream, including everything. After Shu Shu had eaten and drank enough, I just lay on the clouds and had a wonderful sleep. Yi Junlin smiled and said, it sounds interesting. Sure enough, this white-haired rat was so heartless that he could still sleep even in his dreams. Master, does the kind of world described by Shu Shu really exist? Shu Shu really wants to see it. Bai Xiaoxi said longingly. Yi Junlin touched its head. The universe is so big, maybe the kind of world you mentioned really exists. If you have the chance, I will take you there as my teacher. Okay. Bai Xiaoxi jumped up happily, like an innocent child. At this time, 100 miles away from Tianling City, a valley guarded by a mysterious taboo formation erupted with huge movement. Boom! Dazzling beams of light soared into the sky, countless runes surrounded the sky like tadpoles, and the entire valley released an irresistible aura. In an instant, the faces of the monks from all sides who were paying close attention to the situation changed drastically, and their eyes were filled with surprise. The Yaowang Valley is open. The Yaowang Valley is open. The exclamations came one after another, shaking the heaven and earth. This news quickly spread to Tianling City. Boom! Tianling City suddenly erupted into a sensation. No matter in the streets, alleys, inns, taverns, or even brothels, you can see monks quickly taking off, leaping into the air and flying away with flying swords. The sound of breaking wind was sharp and harsh. In mid-air, densely packed monks were rushing towards Yaowang Valley, dragging out countless tail lights of different colors. It's strange. It's inconsistent with the time predicted by the rumors. It turned on so suddenly this time. In the corridor, and Miaoyi looked at the mighty figures of the monks on the horizon and smacked her tongue. Let's go. Fan De looked solemnly, pulled Miaoyi up and disappeared. After a while, the two of them were already 10,000 meters away. Master, it's time for us to set off. Hong Qianye and Li Wujie appeared, cupping their hands and saying in a deep voice. Yi Junlin finished the tiramisu leisurely, took Bai Xiaoxi's hand and walked out of the room. Let's go to Yaowang Valley. Chapter 80 The Hidden Truth in Yaowang Valley. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, the Medicine King Valley is surrounded by a mysterious and hazy energy mist, and the medicinal fragrance wafting out of it is refreshing. Countless monks looked intoxicated and sniffed hard, as if just taking a few more puffs would improve their cultivation greatly. Ha ha ha, I can already feel that there are countless treasures of heaven and earth waiting for me inside. If I can get a top-quality precious medicine, I will be sure to break through from the combined body to the Mahayana, achieve the name of a venerable, and live 50,000 years, free in the world. The ultimate treasure? This fellow Taoist really dares to think that as long as I can successfully obtain an ordinary treasure, I will be satisfied. Hee, this is the famous Medicine King Valley. Not to mention rare treasures in the world, even Medicine King must have them. If you can get a Medicine King, it will be more than enough to break through the tribulation. Hiss, you mean Medicine King? This kind of extremely rare medicinal material will probably beat a big boss in the tribulation realm to a bloody head. Is it something that small characters like you and I can covet? That there was a huge buzz of people all around and the noise was extremely noisy. Looking around, a large number of figures gathered at the entrance of Yaowang Valley, and the ground and sky were full of darkness. The monks from all over the world were very excited, and their minds were filled with the idea of having adventures and soaring into the sky. After all, the Medicine King Valley opens once every 10 years. It is unimaginable even for most practitioners to know how long 10 years is. Even the so-called Supreme Mahayana Realm Masters can only live for 5 years. If they miss it once, they will not be able to wait until the next time it is activated. Therefore, it is such a blessing for many monks to encounter this opportunity. Many people in the crowd were thinking wildly, hoping to obtain more precious medicines, and some even set their sights on the Medicine King. As we all know, medicinal materials are also divided into 3, 6, or 9 grades, namely elixir, precious medicine, king medicine, great medicine king, and fairy medicine. In the middle, it is divided into low grade to top grade. In the world of cultivation, elixirs are the mainstay. Anyone who reaches the level of precious medicines will hold a major auction, attracting competition from all parties. If you throw one out casually, it will blow your mind. As for the Medicine King, it is extremely rare. In the past tens of thousands of years, there has been very little trace of the Medicine King in the eastern region. This kind of famous medicine would make even the Tribulation realm jealous, let alone the Mahayana realm. Uncle Fan, can Yaowang Valley accommodate so many people at one time? The competition is too fierce. And Miaoyi looked around and said in surprise. According to records, Yaowang Valley has a limit on the number of people and time, and if a monk's life is in danger, he will be teleported out by the Yaowang Valley's formation. Generally speaking, Yaozuan's arrangements back then were very appropriate. I and other juniors can receive his favor, and there is really no way to repay him. Fan Dezheng put his hands behind his back and expressed emotion on his face. He admired the ancient sage's actions very much. Grandpa Yaozuan, he must be a good man. And Miaoyi said with a smile. Suddenly, Fan Dezheng noticed something and felt alarmed. He glanced around the vast sea of people, his eyes full of deep fear. Uncle Fan, what's wrong with you? And Miaoyi asked curiously. Fan Dezheng said solemnly, Miss, you are right, the competition will be really fierce this time. After entering later, you must not act without authorization. You must always stay with me. Just now he sensed that there were at least a dozen powerful auras, no less powerful than him, a perfect Mahayana monk. There are even some hidden tribulation experts among them. It can only be said that the attraction brought by Yaowang Valley this time is really great. At this time, a group of monks in cassocks chanted sutras with their heads lowered under the plane trees. Their whole bodies were filled with golden Buddha light, full of tranquility and peace. The leader was an old monk with a thin figure and a long white beard that hung down to his neck. He clasped his hands together, closed his eyes and meditated, standing quietly like a clay sculpture. Unlike the group of monks behind him, whose whole body was covered with Buddha light, he looked ordinary, without even the most basic sense of Zen. He was very ordinary. However, the group of monks behind him were very respectful to him. Because they knew that this person's cultivation level was unfathomable and he was a very senior person in Xiankong Temple. Amitba, with Master Ran Deng leading us this time, we will definitely be able to bring enough famous medicines. A fat monk said. That's for sure. There were rumors in the Xiankong Temple that as early as 10 years ago, Master Ran Deng entered the Yaowang Valley alone and gained a lot of blessings, which further enhanced his strength. A companion said with envy. That's good, that's good. With Master Ran Deng taking action, Yaowang Valley must be in my possession of Xiankong Temple. Several people looked at each other and smiled. This group of monks communicated with each other, so naturally they couldn't hide it from the old monk. Master Ran Deng slowly opened his eyes, a look of helplessness flashed across his eyes, and an imperceptible bitterness showed at the corner of his mouth. Everyone in the Xiankong Temple knew that he had entered Yaowang Valley 10 years ago, and immediately went into seclusion after coming out. He made a breakthrough in his cultivation, and thought he had obtained good fortune from it. Actually, this is not the case. Yaowang Valley is much more than what it appears on the surface, and there are hidden mysteries in it that are simply unimaginable. After many monks came out, their Taoist hearts almost collapsed, and they refused to mention what happened inside. Each and every one of them tacitly concealed the truth inside Yaowang Valley. Among them, there were some kind-hearted people who couldn't bear it in the following days and wanted to reveal what they had experienced inside, so as to warn the younger generation to proceed with caution. As a result, the insider who came to the door was silenced. It seems as if I have endured hardships, and those who come after me must also endure them again. Of course, there are many thoughtful people who want to write a book about what they see and hear and publish it to the public. Who could have imagined that after this news was leaked, many former participants rushed over that night and beat the man to death, scattered his ashes, and killed all his descendants as well. Be a warning. So far, the truth about Medicine King Valley has been concealed, and the interval between its opening every 10 years is too long, leaving only a mysterious color. Therefore, it attracts many uninformed monks every time, rushing to search for opportunities. Then he was severely beaten inside, fell into isolation, and then concealed the inside story, and the cycle repeated. Master Ran Deng knows very well that there are very few people who know the inside story so far. After all, they can live for more than 10 years, and without exception, they are in the realm of transcending tribulation. Even when he recalled what he had gone through, he felt humiliated and ashamed. After returning that time, I practiced even harder, learned my shame and then became brave. After many years, I have made up for my shortcomings, and my strength has improved by leaps and bounds. Even if I face those little guys from Yaowang Valley again, I will definitely be able to handle them with ease, and even defeat them all. It's repression. Master Ran Deng's eyes flashed and he said secretly, he wants to avenge his shame and make up for the psychological trauma of that year.